Ethereum ecosystem is growing faster than ever. Layer 2 networks like Arbitrum and Base all are now handling more transactions than Ethereum used to handle before. These networks actually help Ethereum to become faster and cheaper to use. And because of that, more institutions are investing and more developers are building on Ethereum even before. But with so much happening with all these different networks, a lot of investors are now confused. Right now, there is a massive diversification happening across all the Ethereum ecosystem. So what will be the effect of this diversification on the Ethereum's price? That's the main question. So today we are asking the big question, are the layer 2s are the reason why Ethereum is thriving? Or are they the quiet reason that a token is getting left behind? Those are the complete different questions with the two different outcomes. And which one you believe will determine all the portfolio decision you're making regarding Ethereum. We are going to answer this question in a 5 chapters, not kind of hype driven or not wild price targets we are covering here, just structural data or a framework you can use permanently. By the end of this video, you are going to know exactly whether you need to be buy more ETH or holding off. So let's get into the chapter 1. What Ethereum actually right now. Before we talk about layer 2s and prices, we need to set the record straight. We have to look at what Ethereum actually right now, because most of the people, they are still holding Ethereum as it's like a 2021, and that version of Ethereum is gone. In 2026, Ethereum is no longer just a platform where you send transaction and pay a massive gas fee directly. It has evolved. It is now a financial settlement network, or in another word, it's a base layer where the entire on-chain economics running on top of. Layer 2 networks like Arbitrum and Base all are now handling more transactions than Ethereum used to handle before. These networks actually help Ethereum to become faster and cheaper to use. And because of that, more institutions are investing and more developers are building on Ethereum even before. But with so much happening with all these different networks, a lot of investors are now confused. Right now, there is a massive diversification happening across all the Ethereum ecosystem. So what will be the effect of this diversification on the Ethereum's price? That's the main question. So today we are asking the big question, are the layer 2s are the reason why Ethereum is thriving? Or are they the quiet reason that a token is getting left behind? Those are the complete different questions with the two different outcomes. And which one you believe will determine all the portfolio decision you're making regarding Ethereum. We are going to answer this question in a 5 chapters, not kind of hype driven or not wild price targets we are covering here, just structural data or a framework you can use permanently. Because especially right now in this bear market, by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly whether you need to be buy more ETH or holding off. So let's get into the chapter 1. What Ethereum actually right now. Before we talk about layer 2s and prices, we need to set the record straight. We have to look at what Ethereum actually right now, because most of the people, they are still holding Ethereum as it's like a 2021, and that version of Ethereum is gone. In 2026, Ethereum is no longer just a platform where you send transaction and pay a massive gas fee directly. It has evolved. It is now a financial settlement network, or in another word, it's a base layer where the entire on-chain economics running on top of. So let's go through 2 key data points and the real reason behind them. At first, Ethereum is absolutely dominating the decentralized finance. It's all around 87% of all the TVL, roughly $7 billion locked in its own protocol. Second, more than 32 million Ethereum is currently staked right now. This is over $100 billion of economic security and backed by more than $1 million of validators. And third, institutions are already here. JP Morgan, Franklin Templeton, and BlackRock all are launched tokenized real-world assets on Ethereum, and that specific market is projected toward $300 billion. Look at those numbers. This is an operating infrastructure. This is not a speculative bet on the future. The adoption is already happening. But here is a critical catch. If you only remember one sentence in this video, make this one. The infrastructure is being valuable and the token being priced correctly are two completely different things. Just because of something is super important doesn't mean it's priced correctly. For an example, just because of everyone need electricity doesn't mean the electricity bill is very cheap. This is the exact problem that Ethereum is facing today. And to solve it, we need to look into the layer 2 story. Chapter 2, the layer 2 situation, whether it's a threat or a feature. Here's the layer 2 situation that explained very simply as possible, because this is the genuinely most important structural story in the entire crypto industry right now. Look, Ethereum is used to be very slow and it was incredibly expensive. During a peak time, you may be spending around $50 to $100 in a gas fee for a single transaction. That was completely unsustainable for everyday users. So the ecosystem built layer 2 networks. You can think of them as a faster and cheaper highway lanes running on top of Ethereum. And it will send the periodic transaction to the base layer. And it works exactly as it designed. As of this result, layer 2 fees are dropped dramatically. Today, 60% of all the Ethereum transactions are on layer 2s. The total value locked across all these layer 2 networks is currently around $50 billion. It was literally growing from nothing in 2021 to this billion value. You can think like that. It is now holding more money than some of the major traditional banks. Millions of users, near zero fees, and real institutional adoption. On these metrics alone, Ethereum is winning. But here is the adoption paradox. This is the answer to the exact question we are asked in the start of this video. When users move to layer 2s, they stop paying fees directly to the Ethereum network, like main network. Ethereum has a mechanism called burn. Basically, every time someone sends a transaction on through the Ethereum, a portion of that Ethereum will get destroyed, or you can say burn. So over time, the total supply of Ethereum was going down. And in theory, when supply goes down, the Ethereum you are holding become more valuable. But here is the issue right now. Ethereum's daily fee revenues has dropped dramatically since the last cycle. So the burn rate that's supposed to shrink the Ethereum supply is now operating at the fraction of previous cycle. So are the layer 2s a threat or a feature? The answer is both. Layer 2s are features for Ethereum network, but right now they are putting pressure on Ethereum's price. So those two things are simultaneously true. The network is now healthier than ever, but the token's core value mechanism, the burn, is under massive pressure. That gap is exactly the current price is reflecting. You can consider it's not a failure. You can consider as it's a repricing phase. And there is one specific person at the center of this massive shift. And honestly, the market is completely misunderstood what they are actually doing. Let's get into it. Let's deal with this directly, because Vitalik's recent moves have caused more emotional panic than everything else in the market right now. Earlier this year, Vitalik announced that he is just pulling a massive chunk of ETH from his personal wallet, and he's ended up selling around $40 million worth of ETH over the following month. At the exact time, the Ethereum Foundation just announced that they are cutting back their own spendings. They call it like the period of mid-austerity. Basically, they are tightening their belt actually. Naturally, this sparked a lots of pressure on the market. Serious investors have started looking behind the scenes to find the real motive. But here is how you actually need to read this. Yes, Vitalik added real downward pressure on the market. That's just a fact. When you're watching a founder, the most important question is not just did they sell? The framework is this. Did they announce it first? Did they do it in a transparent way? And where did that money go? On all three counts, yes, and right back into Ethereum ecosystem. Vitalik used that money to fund open source projects, privacy tech, and security. He didn't cash out to buy a yacht. And even after those sales, he still holds around 224,000 Ethereum. And he is not going anywhere. The real signal here is actually incredibly positive. The Ethereum Foundation is simply operating much more faster and more sustainable than they did in 2021. For long-term investors, this is not a red flag. This is an organization that learned from the last cycle. So stop watching to see whether Vitalik is selling his portion of its stake. Instead, watch to see if the foundation is continuing to stake its own treasury. Because that's the metric that proves the insiders are treating Ethereum as a long-term protective asset. So chapter 4, how to hold Ethereum correctly. This is the most practical part of this video because the framework of holding Ethereum is fundamentally different from holding Bitcoin or a traditional tech stock. We have reached a point where the market has just evolved, and if you are still holding on to the older framework to evaluate the Ethereum, then it is the time for a serious update. Rule 1, reframe what you own. In 2021, holding Ethereum is like a high-stake bet, like betting on smart contracts that taking off. And that trade worked. But that version of Ethereum doesn't really exist anymore. Today, Ethereum is look like more of an infrastructure asset, and you can stake it and earn around 3% of an year. They might sound small, but it's actually the real on-chain yield generated by a network processing trillions of dollars. So instead of thinking Ethereum is like a risky startup, think of it like owning a piece of app software. You are not betting on a specific app to win. You just care about whether developers are building and users are keep spending. As long as platform stays busy, you benefits. Rule 2. Size for asset class, not your conviction. Ethereum is highly volatile. Historically, it can drop like 60 to 80% in a bear market and shoot up to 300 to 1000% in a bull market. That's how this asset behaves. So your position should be based on your ability to stomach on those massive swings, not just how you love the technology. Believing in Ethereum's future and surviving its price volatility is completely a different two stories. And confusing these two is the biggest mistake you can ever make. You need to separate your belief from risk tolerance before you buy another dollar of Ethereum. Rule 3. Use the metrics, not the price chart to decide. Your decision to buy more or hold or take profits should never be triggered by just because the chart looks very exciting or very scary. It should be triggered from actual hard data, specifically for on-chain metrics. So that brings us to the chapter 5 directly. If you want to know your Ethereum investment is actually safe, you only need to look at these 4 metrics, like check once in a month and make your decisions once in a quarter according to the change. So let's get into the each metrics one by one. Metric 1. Daily fee revenue. This is the heartbeat of Ethereum. High fees mean Ethereum get burned and the supply shrinks. And low fees means the main network is literally quiet. And that usually happens because of the two reasons. Either we are in a boring market or layer 2s are absorbing all the heavy liftings. So don't look at the price chart, look at the revenue trend. If it consistently sitting around $15 million a day, that burn mechanism is healthy. If it's stuck below $5 million, the token is struggling. You can check this for free like every single day on DeFi Llama. Metric 2. The staking ratio. Right now more than a quarter of Ethereum is locked up. That's literally over 30 million Ethereum. But ignore the exact number for a second, watch the trend. If that percentage going up, even when the price is boring or dropping, that is a massive bullish signal. It means smart money is locking up their Ethereum for a long term and they are not getting ready to sell. So you can check that on Dune Analytics for like a free every single day. Metric 3. Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Don't overthink the exact number here. Just look at how Ethereum is doing compared to the Bitcoin, at least over last few months. This is basically a cheat code. It will tell you exactly what big investors are buying. If that chart is going up, the big money is choosing Ethereum. If that chart is going down, that means Bitcoin is taking the spotlight. You can search Ethereum bar BTC on TradingView to find this chart. And you can start this chart on TradingView and occasionally look into that. And last one, the metric 4, the real world assets. Huge companies like BlackRock, JP Morgan, all are using Ethereum to bring the real world assets on blockchain. And this space is accepted to grow around $300 billion. And you can track this on a free rwa.xyz. If you see the numbers growing up every month, then your long-term investment is looking great, no matter what the daily price is. If you plan to hold Ethereum for next few years, this is the most important metric to watch. How to use this system? So here is how you actually use these numbers. Check this for every 4 months or something. If 3 of them are going up, your investment is in a great shape. You can hold on into Ethereum and you can even consider buying more. But on other case, if 2 or more are going down at the same time, this is your signal to play safe. Don't panic sell. Just reduce your holding to a size where you can sleep very peacefully at the night. That's it. This simple system takes most of the all emotions from your investment decisions. The daily price can do whatever they want, but these numbers will tell you where exactly it actually going. And in the long run, the network always wins. Here is the complete picture in just a few simple points. Ethereum is still the most important network in crypto, and today it is being used more than ever. But the fact is that ETH token itself is changing. It is moving from the hype-driven token to a real assets that actually generate yields. and that kind of transition take time. And because of that, price won't go straight up. And layer 2s are not killing Ethereum, they are actually making it grow up in a more matured way. And this gap in between a massive growing network and a boring price, that exactly where the long-term opportunity is. The network is real and the adoption is real, and this price phase is real as well. Just keep an eye on these 4 metrics to know what exactly you need to do next. That's how you hold Ethereum safely in any market. Like, not by guessing price, but by following the data. I think you got an understanding of the Ethereum's current situation and the layer 2's impact on Ethereum price and overall growth. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want any specific content, please let me know in the comment section. See you in the next video.